Boomers like to complain about the young people as if they're not the ones that played a part in raising them and raising them themselves, All they do is they're just the most negative people I've ever met, They are the definition of a crabs in a bucket mentality. And the ironic part is that these people have it good. Like, any boomer that saved up any money at all could be living the fucking dream right now. And yet they like to talk shit about people as if their lives suck. Like, these people don't understand how good they have it, They are just so insanely narcissistic and just, I don't know where to begin. Boomers love the mindset of tough love to a fault, that they'll see their own kids failing and they'll just sit there and watch. They think that it's the 60s and that all you need to do is just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just work, man. Just like, dude, just get a job, bro. Or if you do get a job, they'll be like, oh, that's not a real job. Stocking groceries on the shelves that is absolutely mandatory for society to run, that's not a real job. That is a fake one. That's for 10-year-olds to work on some, like, they are fucking ridiculous. Any job to them that isn't sitting in an office doing fake bullshit is a fake job to them. It is insane. And their whole worldview is, I don't know if it's by, like ingesting absurd amounts of lead or what, but they are impossible to, you cannot convince them otherwise about anything. They learned all their facts 50 years ago and they refuse to learn anything more. It's like they are literally stuck in the past. They think that their kids aren't struggling because they didn't. And the irony is when someone younger says, like, I'm struggling, like, I need some help, those boomers will just fucking spit on them and say, I had to work hard in my life too. I had to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week at the office. Do you understand how difficult that was? I had a home, 2 cars, a boat, and I had to feed my fucking useless kids. You have no idea how hard it is. While, meanwhile, this young person is like, we're doing the same shit without any of the things that, the social contract said we would get. Where's the homes? Where's the fucking anything? They bitch and moan about, like, oh, my son, I don't have any grandkids. Like, no shit. Obviously not. No one can afford anything. Like, why would they expect to have grandkids? Especially when most boomers are just like the most selfish people I've ever seen in my whole life. They are absurdly selfish. The second their kid turns 18, they look at them dead in the eyes, just a blank stare, and they say, oh, you need to get out now. You need to find a place to live. The complete atomization of the family is something that will be studied in, like, I don't know, 100 years. Even right now, it needs to be studied. Like, boomers completely self-destruct, or they completely destroy their whole family. And for what? Because moving out at 18 is gonna, like, make someone adult? Like, that doesn't even make any fucking sense. Just because boomers could move out, when they were 18 and work as a grocery bagger and have an apartment doesn't mean that that's how it works nowadays. It's not. If I didn't have family that, cares about me, I got kicked out like that, I'd be fucked. I'd be homeless, I was never encouraged to get a degree or anything. So what qualifications do I have other than having 2 arms and a head? So thank God I have people that care about me, but there's a lot of people out there that don't, like good kids too. You're 18, you're a wonderful person. Good chance your parents still don't give a fuck about you. And obviously there's fantastic boomers out there. Like, I'm not denying that. I think a lot of the nicest people I've met are boomers, It's just, there's something about a certain part of them, and it's so prominent. There's so many that it's hard not to notice. They are wealthy. They are the wealthiest group on the planet, and yet they act like they're not. They act like anybody can do it. And yes, to some level, everybody can get rich. But that's also, like, just kind of throwing out the rules, like if you have a low IQ, you grew up in poverty, you're dumb, you're not going to be a rich. That's just how it works, and they don't want to accommodate for these things. They don't want people to get any benefits at all. And I understand that to some level, but people need help, and it's not a community if you're not willing to help out your neighbor, And they shame younger people. It is insane how much they shame people. They see someone homeless on the ground and they point their finger and say, shame, shame. Like what are you doing? Do you not realize it's a person? Like, people need help. Not everyone is a rugged individual that could go 40 years without human contact. Like, that's just not how it works. And, it's like boomers are so selfish that they would rather sabotage their futures and their health just to spite people that, don't live in a 1 mile radius of them. These people, they don't want free healthcare, and I get it. It's not free, taxpayer funded, same shit. They're printing money. They don't want, taxpayer-funded healthcare, but these are the people that need it. It's like they don't have any foresight. You're gonna need that shit, dog, in like 10 years. I hope your insurance fucks you over. Honestly, if you're against that kind of thing, you don't need it anyways. And a big one is just emotional neglect disguised as a strength. They just love to gaslight, saying, life's not fair, man. You just need to toughen up. Don't cry. As if we're robots, it's like, dog. People, again, people have feelings, like I get boomers are, the outlier. They don't have feelings. They're not real people. They're just robots. I get it. But telling your kids, it's like the gaslighting is insane. They will purposely sabotage, their kids just so they can feel good about themselves. It's like, that's one thing I've noticed. I feel like boomers really don't want their kids to do better than them in the broad sense. They do not want to be shown up by their own blood, which is just insane to me because, when I have kids, if I have kids, I want them to exceed and excel at everything. I want them to show me up and fucking be way better at stuff than, me. Like, I don't understand why these people even had kids. Like, did condoms not exist back then? Like, they were just fucking to fuck and didn't know that fucking makes kids? Like, I don't know what the idea was. And because of all of this, you have this massive increase of people cutting their parents off. They say, fuck these people, they don't listen to me, they don't help me, they don't even understand me, they don't even try. They clearly don't give a shit about me, so why would I keep in touch with them? And that is a massive increase in the past, maybe 10 years, I'd say. Economy starts getting worse and you see your parents, even though they have a boatload of cash, they're not willing to help you at all. They'd rather see you homeless than actually being prosperous. It's like they don't understand. Like, they purposely want to sabotage their own kids. You look at any rich family, those kids are going on vacations, they're living their life, they have money, they have help, and people hate that. I hate it too, but that is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to help your kids, even if it requires giving them money so they can find themselves and maybe land a good job. Like, we don't live in a day and age where you can just fucking do it on your own. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to go well. And you have kids, young adults being like, fuck this shit. If I'm not getting help anyways, there's really no point in keeping in touch with these people, Like, that is the whole point of being a parent, You don't stop being a parent at 18. You have to care for them. You have to help them. And if you don't do that, don't be surprised when you're in a nursing home getting the fucking shit beat out of you by some person that, they don't want that job. They're not getting paid anyways. Why not just beat the shit out of old people? But, and this just creates like a generational thing. And I hope these generations can kind of like sort it out in the future. I hope Gen Z isn't like getting shit on by, people by the boomers in the future. That would suck. But there are good boomers, maybe 1 out of 20, I'd say, but it is what it is. So yeah, if you have shitty parents, leave a comment. I know what it feels like to have people that just goes in one ear and out the other, and they really just don't understand anything. They live in a box and they refuse to leave the box. And yeah, I get it. So if you have parents like that, let me know in the comments. Tell me what it's like, or at least your experiences. But I'm gonna end the video here. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Peace.